All right, so it's been about a week since Cherno has come out, and I just want to give my little 2 cents on her as somebody who's not too knowledgeable about her, like the game in general. Like I consider myself as more of a casual when it comes to Snowbreak, but over time I'm hoping to learn a bit more with this game and some of the other characters. Before I really go into too much of an explanation, I just want to say this is not a full review or guide on how she works. This is just more of my opinion and how I feel about her as a character based on my limited experience with playing the game so far. Just a quick rundown of how she works. So with Cherno, she has this mechanic where you can stack some sort of effect on the enemies. And I believe the max amount of stacks on enemies is 300, I believe. Um, yeah, I think it is 300. Let's say it's 300, for example. And so her whole kit is centered around those stacks. So when you use her skill and you press it, she summons an orb that pulls enemies in and deals damage to the enemies itself. She can summon up to a max of 3 orbs. And when you hold down the ability, all of the orbs around her just explode. So it deals damage. And the damage can vary. It really just depends on the max amount of stacks the enemies have on them. Or at least one enemy have on them. I'll explain that a bit later because I'll go into more detail with the problem I have with her. Not necessarily a problem, but a change I would like to see. With her ultimate, basically she summons orbs from the heavens, and then it hits the enemies, and she afflicts the enemies with 100 stacks for 25 seconds. Basically, max stacks over time. It's pretty useful in that. You still would want to use her ultimate, let the stacks go up, and then hold down her skill to make them all explode. And then with her support skill, I don't use it personally, but basically it's kind of like minor crowd control, where you can hit enemies and they just go floating in the air. And then when you shoot them, it detonates some little stack she applies on them, onto the enemies. All of her stats are based off her attack. So with my assumption of how to build her, you're probably going to build her with attack percentage and maybe alignment index for her little alignment thing. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the word. That's the basic rundown of her. Now, with my experience with using her, she's not really good when it comes to dealing with groups of enemies. She does okay damage, but one of the main issues I have with her, and it's not too much of an issue, just a little change I would like, is instead of making her damage only apply to the enemies with the stacks on them, make it so it's the damage fluctuates based on amount of stacks that are present on screen. So for example, if I have 2 enemies, I have one enemy that's with 50 stacks and another enemy that's with 25 stacks. With the way she currently works, she's gonna deal when the orbs explode, she's gonna deal a lot of damage to the enemy with 50 stacks compared to the enemy with 25 stacks. Now, the change that I kind of wish would happen, just make that feel a little bit better. When the enemies have 50 stacks, another one has 25 stacks. It combines the amount of stacks to 75. And so the total amount of damage you would do will be equal to 75 stacks there. And this will make her feel a bit more comfortable to play on field. And I'm not sure how that'll be implemented, because that could be kind of problematic with the amount of damage she already does. I think the max I've seen my Cherno hit for is 100k. And I don't even have my logistics maxed out, minus one of them. And neither of them have attack. Actually, maybe one of them has attack percentage on it. And only 2 of them have alignment index. So my damage is, I wouldn't say on the low end of the spectrum, but it's not as high as it could be. So I'm not sure how that change would be implemented to kind of help the damage there. But I imagine it wouldn't be too broken, considering that even without nuking enemies, trash mobs, she kills decently well with her weapon. So you would have to do a little bit of planning if you want to nuke a room, for example. And also as well, I think this is just a typo thing, not a big deal. In her skill, I know earlier I said that her orb pulls enemies in when she summons it, but for whatever reason in the description, it states that whenever she holds it and it like prepares to explode, that's when it pulls in the enemies. And like unless I'm blind, like I've never seen it work like that. And to be honest with you, I think that would be a nice little change to make it so it pulls enemies in um, whenever she holds it or whenever she summons it, the orbs itself. It it's a very minor change. To be honest with you, like if there's any change I would want more, I'll probably want that one just because that seems a little bit less broken. Like the initial, like the other change of like making it so it's damaged based off the amount of stacks present, like on screen instead of like per enemy, um, might be a little too broken. I just want it because I like seeing big numbers, but I would personally like the one that pulls enemies in, just so it makes it a little bit easier to hit certain enemies. But that's not really her main purpose anyway. Her main purpose, from my experience, seems to be bossing. She seems like a character that does well against like bosses. And to be honest, she seems good. I wouldn't say she's the best, quite honestly. Like I think I prefer Katya or even Yao over her when it comes to like during neural simulation, for example. Just because they're just a bit easier for me to use, but I am a PC player. I imagine Cherno might be a little bit better than Yao and even Katya when it comes to mobile. Maybe Katya. Katya shoots pretty quickly, so she's pretty forgiving. But definitely Yao, like I think Cherno would be better like on the phone. Just because you don't need to be the most accurate with her. You just need to shoot enemies and just hit them. It doesn't matter where you hit them, just hit them. Her damage is good. I think I just prefer Yao when it comes to that. But to be honest with you, I think the most important factor for me personally when it comes to characters is how fun they are to use. And like Cherno's pretty fun. I like the idea of having a character that you get a big payoff if you put in more investment into her in terms of like while you're playing with them. Like for example, I'm a big fan of like Eula from Genshin. She's like the only C6 character I have in the game, but prior to that, I love the idea of just seeing big numbers based off of like stacking damage onto enemies. Just love that as a concept. Now in terms of like whether or not she's worth summoning, to be honest with you, I'm not knowledgeable enough to give a defining statement. But if I had to choose between her or Katya, I think 9 times out of 10 I'd probably choose Katya just because of the fact that she just feels more comfortable to play. And on top of that, like she really has no glaring weaknesses. Like I still bring her into any situation, despite her not being the best in some. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I have to say about Cherno. I think she's solid. I think she's great. Oh, actually, you know what? There's one other thing I forgot to mention. There's another weakness with her, and it's basically just bosses who move around too quickly. Like there's like some fucking flying enemy that flies around. Cherno would not be good in there. She will not work in there. Period. The enemy moves around way too much. I've tried it a couple times. I forgot where I was doing it, but I tried it a couple times and it just wouldn't work at all. So like in those situations, I'd stick with Yao, or Katya, one of the two. It doesn't really matter. But other than that, like I think Cherno's solid. I think she's great. If you were probably looking for like a more detailed explanation on why she's good, or maybe like a breakdown of her, I would probably go to some other knowledgeable YouTubers in the game. Like after this video, I'll probably just go, or after this recording actually, I'd look around to see if I could find any YouTubers briefly that I think would probably do a greater breakdown of the character herself. Because like I can't provide that. I'm not too knowledgeable about everything to really give a cool breakdown of her. I'll probably like leave a link in my description for people to go check her out. Let me say that, to check them out. I try to avoid watching guides right now because I'm currently trying to do videos on the game, and so I don't want to like change my opinion of a character because I watched a video about them prior to me making one. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Cherno. I just want to take a quick couple minutes just to like put down how I feel about her. Like I'm not gonna give a detailed description about her, just because I don't feel confident in myself to do so yet. If I remember to, I'll probably like link some like guide makers from this game down in the description that you guys can go check out if you want to look for something a little bit more detailed than what I can provide. at the moment. Um, but yeah, if you are, you know, if you like the way I do my videos, kind of like half-assed, because to be honest, that's pretty much my whole personality. You can probably just stick. You can probably subscribe and then stick around, or not. That's okay. Uh, I don't know what to say. I don't know how I'm gonna end this. All right, I'm gonna be honest. I've tried this like 10 times to end it, and I just couldn't figure it out. So we're just gonna roll with this. We're gonna roll with this one. All right. I appreciate anybody who's watched right to the end, even if this does come out a little scuffed. Uh, if you do pretty much enjoy the way I do my thing, just go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, I appreciate anybody who's watched. And I just want to take a quick second here at the end. Like my last video went fucking crazy. So anybody that's new from that, I appreciate you subscribing and sticking around. Even though, to be honest, like I think it's an okay video. I think I could have done better, but I just need to put something out there. So yeah, I hope that y'all have a great day. And if you are like new into like, or if you are getting into Snowbreak, like stick around. Trust me, it does get better as like, I'm a returning player as well. So I would recommend like sticking around, I don't know. Anyway, have a great day. Appreciate everybody who's watched this. And yeah.